Better Call Saul Season 5 Episode 7, JMM, is an episode that brings Saul Goodman into the spotlight, while slowly watching the disappearance of Jimmy McGill. We saw Jimmy and Kim's relationship take major strides, while these opening moments were later nullified in the episode's conclusion, which in my mind felt like Saul Goodman's I am the danger moment. We also watch Gus having to play calm in the face of the magical executive, while at the same time trying not to upset Don Eladio with his plans. I'm going to be giving you my overall recap, review and breakdown of these events like I have done so far for every episode this season. If you want to see more Better Call Saul along with other recaps and reviews for the rest of Season 5, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoy the video, remember to give it a like rating. Without further ado, here is my recap and review for Better Call Saul Season 5 Episode 7 entitled JMM. So we open with the marriage of Kim and Jimmy, and even though the pair finally reach a point in their relationship where they decide to be completely open and honest with each other, Jimmy challenges this by mentioning to Kim later on in the episode his arrangement with the cartel. We may have possibly just seen the moment that Jimmy leaves Kim behind. Jimmy and Kim may be married, but they're not built to last. This moment actually has nothing to do with Kim, and it even starts with Jimmy taking his better half's advice. Jimmy knows that he shouldn't work to get Lalo out on bail. He's seen the damage that Lalo's cartel business creates and knows he shouldn't be helping a man like this out of prison. But with Mike's help, Jimmy has all the evidence he needs to get Lalo released. However, after making a whispered agreement to have the bail release granted during the court trial, the bail is set to an enormous $7 million cash amount. As he turns to Lalo annoyed by the verdict, Lalo doesn't flinch at the demand and orders Jimmy to go retrieve the money. So Jimmy has now got a problem, and it seems like he will need his other half, Saul Goodman, to find a way out of this situation. And speaking of Saul, the moment that we've all been waiting for happens. While Jimmy gazes across at the victim's family, Howard reappears one more time. You can view Howard's timing here as complicated, but one that shows Jimmy is staring the horrible consequences of the life he's about to choose. As he is offered possibly his last lifeline, it becomes clear that any marriage, rings or full disclosure agreement will never contain the complex ego and ambition raging inside Jimmy, which was all a part of his complicated relationship with Chuck. Jimmy gaslights Howard and bellows on about his abilities, connections, and the new outsized way that he sees himself. His rage allows him to look past the grieving family that he just gazed at. Along with Howard's gesture and Kim's worries, he accepts that JMM doesn't mean Jimmy Morgan McGill or justice matters most. It means just make money, no matter the personal cost. This is a line delivered by Lalo which perfectly captures Jimmy's final transformation. Jimmy belts out at Howard in what I believe to be now a famous line: "Lightning bolts shoot out of my fingertips." This shows that the ego of Saul Goodman is now finally taking over. Moving on to Gus Fring, who not only needs to keep the appearance of peace between himself and the Salamancas in order to not upset Don Eladio, but we find out that he also has to play nice with Peter Schuler, the head of the fast food division of Magical Electromotive. Breaking Bad fans may remember Peter as the magical executive that immediately committed suicide when the police arrived to question him about the death of Gus Fring. And here we clearly see his nerves about his illegal activities, such as the funding of the Super Lab. Everything about Gus, from the way that he arranges his items in the hotel room, screams that he's a man that needs control and craves precision. Having to cater to Eladio and Lalo while constantly reassuring Peter is probably one of the more frustrating things that Fring can possibly experience. He wants to be in charge by calling his own shots, but we know that in pursuit he'll be sidetracked by many trying to throw chaos into his world of strict order. But once the line is crossed with Gus, there's no going back, and we get this impression with a wonderful constructed scene of Gus and Nacho blowing up a Los Polos Hermanos restaurant. We get another boss walk by Gus, who surely has a neat trick up his sleeve in the coming episodes. While we see the downfall of Saul and Gus into their respective Breaking Bad personas, we also get the upswing of other characters. We see Kim face down Kevin after the disastrous ending of the Tucumcari plotline, and instead of her waiting for Kevin to declare her fate, she decides to take an aggressive approach, blaming him for repeatedly not taking her legal advice. This move pays off and Kim leaves with the Mesa Verde account secured. Meanwhile, Mike is back watching Kaylee and tells Stacy that he's better now. Unfortunately, there's a lot of darkness behind this statement. While Mike may have come back from a rough period, at the same time he's aligned with a dangerous criminal. He says that I've decided to play the cards I was dealt with, resigning himself to this new existence. So I'm giving Better Call Saul Season 5 Episode 7 a rating of 5 stars. What we saw in this episode were defeats that were portrayed as simple victories for all the primary characters. It brings to life the main moral of the story, which is tragedy, all while glossing things over using its pure nature of perfectly timed comedy and characters that can't fully understand their own motives. The tragedy is inevitable, and somehow they all feel even worse after something goes right, like Jimmy and Kim's slight celebration of their marriage. We can't even enjoy watching our favourite characters act romantic because we know the other side is going to take over, and it now has. Jimmy's life as Saul Goodman is infecting the moment. It's only a matter of time before it infects everything around him. Throughout the show, we've seen a split of persona, one tugging at the other, but now after this episode, I believe we've finally seen the weight tip towards the side of Saul Goodman. Let me know what your perspective is on what happened in this episode and where you think we are going in the final few episodes. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications to stay up to date with all my other Better Call Saul reviews in the weeks ahead, along with other great content on shows like Westworld and much more. I've got a review of Ozark Season 3 coming up tomorrow, which I also think has had a fantastic season, so look out for that. Also, don't forget to give the video a like rating. Hope you guys enjoyed the recap and review. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.